All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to get started for this evening's general meeting of February 1st here at the Gawehno Recreation Center. I want to welcome all of you. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We have the council attendance, moment of silence, council agenda, or the general meeting agenda, rules of order, follow up from the general meeting of November 2nd. We have a presentation this evening on the MCA capital projects update. We'll provide an update on Quebec Hydro. We have a resolution, and then we have business from the floor. We have a couple announcements, and then we have an adjournment. So that's the agenda for this evening. If I could have a mover to accept the agenda, Edward and Julie, all in favor? All right, thank you so much. All right, so for this evening's February 1st general meeting, which was rescheduled from last week due to some inclement weather, we will begin our meeting at approximately 6 p.m. this evening, and we'll proceed to approximately 8 p.m., at which time we will take a look at where we are on the agenda, how much business we have left, and determine whether or not we'll go past 8 or if items will be deferred, or we may wrap up about during 8 p.m. This is a public forum, so personal issues will not be dealt with in this forum. This meeting is being recorded, as we have always previously done. We do have microphones set up, so this is what we consider a public forum as well. So we'll not deal with public personal issues that we dealt with on a one-to-one basis. That will take your name or talk with you after the meeting. So please remember that. As we move through this evening's agenda, we have various items that we'll be discussing. There is a part at the end of the meeting, which is the business from the floor, where we can talk about items abroad. So I ask that you please keep your points, questions, discussion related to the item that we're discussing at that time. As well, I ask that you please raise your hand to ask a question. I would create a list of persons who want to ask a question, and we'll go down that. Please wait till I acknowledge you before asking your question or making a comment. A list of issues will be made if there's something that we can't answer at that time, or if an item needs to be followed up on and reported back. We have an item on the agenda that's called follow-up from the previous general meeting. So that's a time when we'll report back. We also, so again, if there's some issues that we don't have the answer to, we'll make note of them and again, report them back. So that's the rules of order for this evening's general meeting as well. We ask that everybody remain respectful. We are in a community meeting of our membership here in Akwesasne and want to dialogue with all of you and hear your ideas, your feedback, receive your direction on different issues. So we ask that everybody please remain respectful. If for any reason the meeting gets out of hand, as the chairperson, I will shut the meeting down and we'll resume at a later date at the next scheduled general meeting. So please be mindful of that. Also, any disrespectful language or any swearing will not be tolerated. I will ask that you please not express yourself with using profane language. I will call you upon that, and if you continue to, then you will forego your opportunity to speak. That's our agenda, our rules of order for this evening's general meeting here at the Gawehno Recreation. So welcome again to all of you. We'll take a moment now to go through the action items. Before we go that far, we have all members in attendance, I believe. Yes. So, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge any families that have been grieving since the last general meeting of November, and I just want to take a moment to have a moment of silence for those that we've lost in the last couple of months. So we'll observe that now. Thank you. And so on behalf of myself and council, we extend our condolences to all those members affected by grief over the last couple of months. And we do have a cancellation protocol or relocation protocol that sometimes, unfortunately, has to be called upon when we have a death in one of the districts. So we're not, in this case tonight that is not happening, but this is a rescheduled meeting from last Thursday that was scheduled and had to be rescheduled due to inclement weather. So back to our agenda, we'll now take a moment to go through the action items from the November 2nd general meeting. And those are in your packages. The packages are printed in the back, have the agenda as well as the follow-up items and then the presentations that we'll be going through this evening. So take a look at that. Can the regulations be posted on the MCA website? So I think this is broadly a request for that information to be shared. And I don't know if there's any updates on that, but it is something we are making sure is going to be action on. There's a number of community laws already posted on the website, but I think that this was in reference to some of the governance documents that govern council. Those we will verify that they have been placed up on the website. So the number of consultant MCA uses, I'm going to call upon one of our members of the MCA Finance Committee if they could give us an update on that report that's been requested by the community. So we have two full chairs. If one of you could provide an update. I don't know.
We'll just so
There's a button there.
So I'm just going off of information that we received on in around October, and actually came to the floor. We had was it 16 million in consultant fees. There's over 100 consultants. So in order to get a more defined answer in what the community is looking for, we need to have an idea of what specifically we're looking for. Because when we talk about consultants, for example, there could be positions. So positions in health are considered consultants. They're probably one of the biggest areas where funds are.
How much money from the consultant's list is paid to Akwesasne for this in Akwesasne?
That's a question that I can answer for, which is what we're asking for, more specifics on what we're looking for. So we can take that question back and provide you with more detail on that. Because it depends on what program.
Yeah, but why didn't you bring a list of all $16 million for it? Wouldn't that have been smarter to bring up this with all $16 million line item? Who got paid what?
So I do have something here that was provided. This was in the October district meeting, I believe it's not. So November meeting, sorry. Overall, Mohawk government budget year to date 25,000. Executive services 5,000. Health 862,000. Infrastructure, housing, environment, finance. There's no allocation. Community and social services 135,000. Public police services 60,000. And Akwesasne Mohawk Board of Education 770,000. And justice 3,000. So as I mentioned earlier, actuals year to date 1.6 million. So not 16 million, 1.6. So my colleagues.
Thank you. We'll don't go too far. There's another question here related to the finance committee and credit card reporting on audits from previous year and upcoming.
So as audits are still ongoing, finance hasn't had the opportunity to provide any of the recent updates. We're hoping by the end of February, we'll have some more definite answers in terms of budgets and audits to move forward. Credit card statements, I believe, is one of the questions. And with that, I need specifics because anytime that credit card is utilized, it's gone to a specific program to But say, for example, the meals is gonna be two separate accounts, and it's all broken down into different areas, so. Just need more specifics on what exactly we're looking for. We can-
Go ahead.
What about, chief expenditures? When you on the road? Can we get copies of that?
But we can certainly look into that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. The other one was an update on the land claims. So do we have any member of the committee prepared to give a brief update on the land claim files? No report available. There's a general meeting presentation scheduled. Is that what their plan is? So that's what we're. Okay, so we will have a presentation at future general meeting, likely the end of this month on the land claims updates. Update on the loose dog complaint, public safety portfolio. I have a member provide an update on that. Yes, this should be good.
Okay, so for loose dogs, we had a question in relation to loose dogs in the village of the Mount. Currently we have one compliance officer, his name is Josh Mitchell. So what he is doing now is utilizing the temporary space at AMPS, not only for his office, but also for his vehicle, the vehicle he uses, and kennel space. So he does have a temporary setup for kennel space for loose dogs that he picks up. Currently, the funding is on hold. That's approximately 800,000 on hold at this time. So that funding will be used to hire 400 compliance officers to get vehicles and kennel space for dogs. He is working on a pamphlet that we'll share on the website that explains his program that he's working with. And just so the community knows that there is a spay and neuter clinic that will be happening. And I believe that is in the fall, spring of 2024. And it was possibly so a lot of people really utilize that spay there to cut down on the dog. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's it for the action items from the last general meeting. There's a couple. Yes.
Loose dog. Why is it only a reservation issue? You go to Cornwall, there's no loose dog. You go to Speaker, there's no loose dog. You go to Malone, there's no loose dog. Why is it only the reservation? It's an actual joke, right? Because if your dog is loose in Cornwall, they give you a $50,000 fine. But on the rest here, they don't, there's no, why is it only a reservation issue? You've been cheap for 25 years. Why is it a reservation? Loose dog. If anybody ever asks you, my dear direction.
Are you talking to me? Because I haven't been here 25 years. Probably make me underage if we do the numbers. So there has always been a challenge with the dog issue, and it really, ultimately comes down to the end of the day is resourcing and how much the organization is prepared to put an investment into it. And you reference some of the off reserve. There's obviously many municipalities have registration systems. They have a bylaw system that when your dog is loose, you receive a fine. So it's all part of the enforcement of the bylaw department. And so this has been an ongoing challenge for us. And we have in previous years had a more robust system to apprehend loose animals and to contain them and take care of them, and then unfortunately ultimately sometimes destroy them. And so at the current time, there's which the member has described, there's a smaller system in place, but really it is comes down to the end of the day resourcing. We're prepared to make the investments into persons and equipment to do that work. So I remember there was a time, and not that all that long ago, that there was probably 2 or 3 of them, and they had a pretty big system, and over time it kind of goes like this, how much we were able to work towards that. Catching the dogs. Frankly, I mean, and the other thing is too, there's an owner responsibility on this. People don't want to tie their dogs up or what have you, so that is a challenge. It's not the only part of this concern. I see your hand in the back. Go ahead.
It is the owner's responsibility. Your animals are your children. You're the one that is solely responsible for taking care of your children. So I don't think I didn't think you of MCA. I see a huge issue on the community member that is out at all. Take care of your dogs. They're part of your family. They're not supposed to be out there either. If they are, if you want, if you don't want them.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to our first presentation this evening. So again, there's packages maybe out at this point, but the PowerPoint presentation will be projected onto the screen. Members of the DIHE portfolio are going to take turns in providing an update to you on the infrastructure capital projects that we have in planning underway here at the Mohawk Council.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Here we are with the capital projects, top 10 capital projects. Unfortunately, Leslie Kawehno is here this evening. And as portfolio, we said we take on the challenge. So capital projects are large scale projects, generally higher in needs of expense, investment, require considerable planning, often refers to projects like infrastructure, roads, water and wastewater, new buildings, and other commercial based projects. So what we have for our top projects are space needs. We have 6 projects, and those are the Sunday Warehouse, Hamilton Island Cultural Living Center, Kawehno Clinic, that is the records repository, the design and administration building, the corner of Gibbon and Sky School Road, the Akwesasne Community Hub and Youth Center, and the Wave of France Road. And the AMS addition. Our second is our fire station number 3, which is in Snide. Our third is Hawthorne Road Extension, which is currently underway. New sand dome for the road, which is right here on the island and in Snide. Our capital planning update study. Our LED streetlights on Macumber Road, north and south. Kawehno, the new Sky School project, the Enníska Beach project, Hamilton Island Bridge project, and various road projects. Those various road projects include the roads down in Sugarbush and I can't remember the other. Fisherman's Lane, Sunday Drive, and Yohakio. And our building conditions assessment. So the first one, space needs, because we are growing in many areas within MCA operations, we are at max capacity. that require more than space to meet current operations. Our goal is to provide office space to meet the health and safety needs of our employees and visitors. The new design for these buildings and renovations are being proposed to offer expanded services to the community and still follow the MCA strategic plan framework for the organization. Our intent is to meet the needs of the community. MCA and DIHE is working to complete shovel-ready tender projects. This means an infrastructure building project must have all the associated planning, designs ready for construction along with its associated project budget. Projects have a better chance to become funded when tender ready. The timeline for each capital project from the initial plan to construction normally takes at least 5 to 7 years. Projects can be expedited based on lobbying strategies and other resources that become available.
Space needs, the following capital projects underway that are in various planning stages to accommodate space needs for the MCA organization. The Sunday warehouse, we're hoping to accommodate Department of Health Medical Clinic, Hydro Lab Lab, NBTRAJ, Administration Touchstone Spaces, the SNI Admin Building, multi-purpose 3-story facility to address the space and servicing needs of MCA, accommodation for finance, justice, and administration. Kawehno Medical Clinic and MCA records, depository, new building accommodation for primary care, mental health, traditional medicine, prevention, addiction, physiotherapy, palliative care, and home support. Community hub and youth center, inclusive space for youth, community events, and service providers. Increase access to cultural, traditional, and Western resources. Program includes a youth recreation center, support services, teen clinic, and community hub to house a food pantry, community kitchen, vendors, and local services. Healing Cultural Center, a unique building space dedicated to healing and sharing of traditional knowledge, designed to connect community with cultural practitioners. AMS addition and upgrades. AMS operating at maximum capacity. New addition plus upgrades to current building, equipment, playgrounds, and parking lot. Accommodation for AMS expansion and new building for energy admin and childcare care programs. The Hogansburg, Akwesasne volunteer fire department located in this night in need of upgrades. Plus, we have a project going for an 8-bay garage, possibly meeting room, living room, kitchen, fitness room, bunk room, storage, dispatch, office, lockers, laundry showers, training towers planned for the site. However, the design development for this project is missing the early planning stages, which is a requirement for funding from this.
So with the fire station project, part of the planning is to do the feasibility or survey, and EIG will be conducting a community consultation survey. The survey will be available online through all the 3 districts. And community members will be asked, do you support the design for a new HAVFD fire station, or do you support a multi-purpose building that includes a fire station and additional emergency service programs? The survey will be documented as part of the funding project submission along with a report on existing building conditions. The survey results will provide direction for the next stage of development. And we have the Hawthorne Road capital project, and the project site, the Hawthorne Road project site is to provide site servicing and road extension for the new 5-unit housing subdivision. partial lot of A 67-3 Veteran Range in G9. This is a two-part project. Once the roads or site is servicing is complete, the housing units will be constructed, scheduled to start this spring. And, for more information, please reach out to the DIG houses.
One of our priorities for EIG is the Kawehno cell phone storage building. Project plan, it's being planned to be demolished, or wood barn, actually, but no little finish, MCA building. The extent is to design the building to a new salt and sand building. For the roads, but also to make room for a new standalone medical facility planned for next fall. The current existing barn building is at the end of the structure line. Set to be demolished. So the new salt building is planned to be installed next to the existing DIUG garage and roads department to accommodate salt material storage with room for expansion. The area will also be fenced in for security purposes. The DIUG is also seeking funds for this project. And it's better rate. Area number 5 is the capital planning and study update. Capital planning study is perhaps the most important planning exercise a community can undertake to identify and implement their goals and objectives in municipal services, housing, education, recreation, community development. Capital plan document must be updated on a regular basis to maintain the useful planning tool. The original capital plan study was completed in 1991, based on 1998 to 1999. The proceeds of the previous updates were completed in 1998 and 2008. The capital plan is based on a 1-year development plan. We are now at year 15 of the 20 years. It is time to think about the next 20 years.
Capital plan and study update. The physical data will be collected and observed included existing and projected population, needs and issues, physical planning, housing need projections, proposed subdivision, locations and layouts, and specific land use and layouts. Infrastructure services, road and structures, water supply and distribution, water tower, fire protection and emergency response, sewage collection and solid waste disposal, drainage, stormwater management, erosion control, electricity, data, internet, fiber to the home services, natural gas, community buildings, facilities, and other requirements from various MCA departments. The capital plan update 2024 will integrate the results of previous and contemplated initiatives for Mohawk territory of Akwesasne. The community comprehensive plan and MCA strategic plan will be reviewed to identify and ensure consideration and coordination with community priorities. A request for proposal call will be issued soon to consultants based on this project.
Excuse me, how long of a term are you looking at? What's the long term?
To add on to this, 20 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
We're also working on the LED streetlights, Macomb Road, north and south, which is, I think it's already finished. Project site, Macomb Road, north and south. The project includes replacement of poles, addition of poles, lights to light up the road. Total number of lights is 33. The project is underway and being completed by Kawehno Electric. The new nice school project next to the existing school, southwest corner of the property. Figure Architects HSB Engineering has begun preliminary designs for a new school that will accommodate both English and Kentenhkó immersion programs. Planning discussions underway. This project will go out as a community notice when its preliminary design is complete.
We have the Untitled Beach project. This project is for a new beachfront dock and a review of the existing shoreline with erosion control. And the new parking lot, kids play area, lighting. The landscape garden and picnic area. Site drainage has to be reviewed, design completed by Architecture 49 and EGB Engineering. Project is tender ready. DIHEs to seek funding for construction. And then Hamilton Island Bridge replacement. The project site is Hamilton Island. Jacobs Engineering has begun preliminary design for the replacement of a new bridge crossing. The existing bridge is in dire need of replacement. The new bridge will be beneficial to the proposed project developments on this island, as well as provide information and the possibly be replicated for the replacement of the two side bridges. Drawings will be tender ready in the springtime and DIHE will seek funding for construction thereafter.
As you all know, there's road conditions in all of our three districts, so on this priority list, we have various road projects that are being looked at right now. DIG is preparing requests for proposals to obtain consulting firms to prepare tender documents for roads below seeking funding for construction. In this line, then we have your Hill Road, connection to Hemlock, Sugar Bush Road East, Sugar Bush Bridge towards the end of the roadway, and Phillips Road, McDonald Road, Sunday, and Fisherman's Lane. In Granada, we have Sweetgrass Lane, Third Street, Johnson Street, Kalika Street. And on Lower Noga, we have scheduled Harbor Road, Point Road, and Listed Line. Let's I have to check on that, and I'll get back to you on that. And on the other priority list on number 7, we also have to do a building conditions assessment. The building conditions assessment help determine the facilities conditions, identifies issues before they become severe problems, and the allocation of capital and major repairs. Excuse me. Building condition assessments are underway for the following MCA facilities, including like EFI, engineering, and architectural 49. The first one is English Mitchell Memorial Building, the Honorable. Number 2 is a mid-4 building, the Honorable. Number 3 is a mid-1 building, A-frame, the Honorable. Number 4 is fire station number 3, which is 9. 5 is St. Regis Recreation Center, Mohawk. Number 6 is Mohawk Arena, Kawehno. Number 7 is Akwesasne Mohawk School, Kawehno. Number 8 is Kawehno. And number 9 is Sukram. And on to Kawehno, I just want to add that they do some repairs there already. We put in a nurse call station, we fixed the fire alarm system, put in a new roof, and we also did magnetic door locks on the doorways to help the people that work there, the residents, for security purposes. Number 12, building roof assessment and infrastructure. Roof assessments are also underway for the following MCA facilities. The review is being completed by a senior consultant, and the reports gathered estimates will help seek funding for repair. Number 1 is Akwesasne Mohawk East Station. Number 2 is City Health Facility and the Safe Bridges Recreation Center. Equipment assessments are being completed by the ADJOURNMENT Water and Wastewater Program. EDB Engineering has been hired to review the conditions of our infrastructure and provide recommendations on potential upgrades or replacements. Number 1 is block 94, 97 pumping station and drainage review. Number 2 is further additional reviews will be conducted. on other MCA wastewater plants and infrastructure for all two districts.
Hey, thank you, the four of you. Don't go too far. We're gonna take questions, so you can take turn answering.
Reach out to the IU chief. At MCA, he was an interview.
Okay. Go ahead, right here in the front.
Going back to the building maintenance, I noticed, AMS school is closed tomorrow. And I'm just wondering if I get any information as to what kind of building maintenance is going on.
That's first I heard of it. I know Andy always keeps in touch with Rachel Kawehno, the director of the ADJ, and we can get that information back. Right, so right on. The other portfolio holders, you know, anything.
They released a thing on Facebook there, states AMS is closed tomorrow for building maintenance. But it was kind of sudden. Parents didn't really have time to plan for and shutting down school.
I'm not,
The date or happened.
yeah, well, I mean, stuff like, but sometimes emergency happen, it could be heating, it could be the air system, it could be quality of air, HVAC systems and all that.
Where you get back to me on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead in the front here. Yeah, yeah.
That building down is not owned by training center. Remember you build that off? Spent $600,000 building that didn't rate it for admin building. Eventually in the project. Now that admin building you're putting together, what is gonna go in that admin building? At one time, I went to Salati Colbert for the presentation. And at one time, they were saying that the chief, saying, really, building down, saying, gonna relocate, it's not. That's who, is that still on the table?
No, it's, that was what the intent was. The bill was installed, put in place there was to allow it for time to settle. So that so it can hold the structure, massive structure that need to be put on there, but it had to be really determined. Time, I think it be shut up in a way where it set us back a little bit, but everybody was moving around, we're relocating. So now that occurred, we have to be assessed to see what's best fit for that location is. Probably, we'll probably be talking with the site.
They said that you needed 2 years.
Okay, since we're here. Side bid building, multi-purpose three-story facility with the present space and services needs of MCA for common accommodations for finance, justice, and administration.
Go back on the original. That's the one.
That one is proposed with a Sunday warehouse, touchdown offices, touchdown spaces.
That's another question. You own that building?
Yeah.
You bought that building? Where you just go to the Pat meeting? You decided to buy it?
I think we did it that night, yeah.
But at the time, when we were experiencing COVID, it was supposed to be a food security facility. It still can.
I have another question about your salt. You want to build a building for your, to retain your salt.
It's all small.
Yeah, but where does Cornwall get there? They get it on Indian land, don't they? Down by the river, there's 2 pits, and that's where they get their salt. That's our land, that's Indian land. Where do you access it now? Where do you access it now?
You probably buy it from Cornwall.
No, but where do you get your salt? Where do you store it now?
Right in the old facilities, there's one in, an article that by the, old bus garage.
You're just as close to go to Indian land here.
And there's another one on,
Would you agree with me that we could store and get our salt from Cornwall that's on Indian land?
well, my experience working on different projects and stuff, would be buy it in bulk and store it, it's cheaper. Then we have full access to it whenever we need it. But the problem is, when they go through the hot, humid, rainy and muggy conditions, that salt solidifies. So
You know where I'm talking,
yeah, I agree.
well, we bought 50-50 deal, that's the harbor.
Oh, you mean for the vegetable processing?
Yeah, that's where they store their stuff in the roads and morning.
Well, then so,
Instead of going to St. Regis, if that's Indian land, why can't we use their bid?
that's a good question. We can look at that. There is a committee that's on that for the vegetable property. Sure, we can put that question to them.
I have another question. If you have any projects in dire need, I can't wait to this 20-year scheduled program we have. Is there any way that you can access trust money? Got $50-something million trust money, I can take this amount, fix roads, and do something that's in dire need.
It's not a 20-year plan, it's a plan for what's gonna happen over the next 20 years. It doesn't mean it's gonna take 20 years. But we gotta have some kind of order for all these projects, they're gonna get done. And we do talk about that, like, can't we use some of the money we have right now? And, you know, it's not, like, it still takes planning, and like what you're talking about, why don't we store it over there, but we have that in Kentenhkó, because Kentenhkó needs it sometimes, or it's not, you know what I mean? So it's gotta be local, it's gotta be right there. So it's not like we aren't looking at that, we do talk about that, getting some of these out of the way, I guess, instead of making it this big plan.
You know, guys,
It's gonna take forever.
as many meetings as we come to, we hear about updating the road. I mean, there are roads out Snyder, roads on the island, the couple road north is terrible. But anyway, you know, if it's gonna take, you say it won't take, it's an outlook at 20 years. I'll bet you it'll take more than that. It's been 5 years we were asking for boards at the lacrosse box on the island, at the school. Look how many years we asked just to cover that up with ice packing for the kids. We get nothing. Now you're looking at these big projects and it's gonna take a lot of investigating, it's gonna do a lot of scheduling, it's gonna do a lot without produce that much. You know what I mean? You're saying, no, it's not, I'll bet you 10 months, it'll take more than 20 years.
We have a question in the back. Did you want to respond to that before we go to that question?
No,
Okay.
I didn't know about the response.
Okay, that's you, CJ.
James,
There's somebody over there. sorry.
No, it was her first thing. Yeah.
We can't hear him, so somebody could give him a mic, but he says.
Okay.
He can question about it. That's the first one. The second one is, going back to these projects, and when he raises a good point about the settlement dollars or whatever, and the settlement money's whatever, 400 million was supposed to be presented this month. It was mentioned in November, so I don't see it on the agenda. And so if we ever get to the point of hearing about the $400 million, maybe the community sitting here will give suggestions on how some of that can be put towards that, and he's making a decision, if it's voted on, that yes, we agree to take $100 million and put it towards these projects, because everything I'm hearing is the government, we gotta go look for the money, we gotta go look for the money. The community knows that and understands that. How hard are you looking for these monies if half these projects have been on these lists for 30 years as it is? Because this projects that are listed here, Dave's right, it's gonna take another 40 years. So that 400 million we got sitting there, let's start trying to talk and advocate to the community about changing the direction that you're heading in, or putting it in trust again, and grabbing a little to tackle some of these projects. When we talk about priorities, I know what some of those priorities are. And I know that there's been talk, there's money available to take care of it. Yucca Silva is a good example. That's a very good example of being told there's money there to address the issues and problems there. Why isn't it being taken care of there? It goes hand in hand with half these items. I've been advocating a good 7 years for Beverly Street Village. I've been told by a bunch of chiefs saying it's on the list, it's at number 12, oh, it's number 8. So when you show us that list, how do we know what the priorities are? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because if I got to advocate for 20 more years to get little tiny Beverly Street taken care of, what's it going to the main highway, this entire island road?
when that road starts to deteriorate, the point where we've got to fix 20 miles of road. So those are comments more than a question for your ideas and projects. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead, you have your hand up. Robin?
I'll add that for sugar books, the main thing, Hamilton Island. Like sugar book, alone. They made some fight with some carpenters out there this past summer. The road in sugar book is. Like, I don't know, when I think how many people in college. But we moved to sugar book more than 35 years ago. Not one time was anything. When we moved there, there were 7 houses. Nowadays, there's 30. And 80, probably 90% of the houses are communities, whoever people are over 50. I mean, what about the wear and tear on your buses? Your ambulance, your police car, our car. Them roads are bad. They tear them up. I would have to.
Thank you. Other comments or questions on this presentation that's been done on the capital projects? Oh. Okay. Right here in the middle, yeah. Yeah,
The road, no, again. White Road hasn't been repaired, so how do we get on the list? They can't even put no, gravel or asphalt down, and it's bad. We still have that big dip down towards Mary White's. One of the trees before, nothing has been done. So I know the potholes, like right now, is really bad. So how does, White Road get on the list to take a look at being repaired? And also, you're going to Wixon Delany Road, that has been, upgraded, but they didn't do White Road. So it's like you're, jumping over our residents down that road.
you have a response?
Yeah, I can bring these issues up or items up at the next portfolio meeting. And we'll see what the status are on some of these roadways and see how fast we can move them along. We started a couple years ago, or 2 years ago, we started a multi-jurisdictional table. And in that table, we had MPQ Quebec, Ministry of Transportation Ontario, Infrastructure Canada, ISC, and I forget what the other, and Mohawk Council involved in these discussions. And in those discussions and those gatherings that we had, we were trying to lay out a 5-year plan that was going to give us 2 new road construction every year for the next 5 years. There was challenges in there, it presented a lot of challenges where each entity would have to contribute so much money annually in order to get this done. And in order to fulfill and show them that we have the capability of doing this, we completed 2 roads and got out of it the same year. So I think we can still do that. So we're back into trying to revise all multi-jurisdictional table discussions to see and try to get a serious commitment from those other people that are responsible for our infrastructure. That's all I can report at this time, because we haven't had a meeting in a while. And a lot of people moved around in the federal government in some of those departments, so we have to reestablish ourselves with those organizations in order to get them back at the table for these discussions. And in that discussions, somebody can quote me if I'm wrong, I think it was somewhere around approximately $17 billion to get that done in the next 5 years.
Amen.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I'm asking for, Cumber Road North, we looked at property and making paved, is the fact that the buses turn around now. The buses go down that road, they leave about pits about over a foot deep. Mud, real bad, because of the weight of the buck. And on top of that, the water line, if you look into what was done with the water line, they couldn't go around my property because I had that brick in front. So they went down the road. The water line was just underneath where the road is, where the buses are digging big pits in there. So that's why I wanted to add it to the list. I know if you didn't put it on.
Well, we have a big list of roadways where aware of certain road conditions, like you said, we have to set some priorities and just to let the community know, once we get the design monies for a roadway to be redesigned, that funding for that roadway follows that probably. So, and I understand the spring months come up, we're already in the pothole season because of the climate change. You know, so I understand the concerns that everybody's having. And I think when you have bad roads, I think it's time to start to slow down. You know, our buses have to slow down. We did a report on our buses and our maintenance costs and use that to help us get the funding for our way to Maximilian Road and some of the development streets. Okay, you know.
Thank you. Back in the back here. Yes, go ahead.
So I just wanted an update. Last year around this time, we were at SNIREC to hear, for the general meeting to hear, and we heard a report from the directors for the budget. And at that meeting, I asked the question, where in the capital plan is the identification for a new recreation center for Kawehno Rec. And so on this document you guys give us, I see here, this is the capital projects underway, going on the record up there. I see number 1, space needs, community club and youth center. And right in that section, it reads, program includes a youth recreation center. Where exactly is that youth recreation center? And then I keep going and I see other projects, capital planning study. Then I see building condition assessments, building roof assessment for another recreation center. But nowhere in this document is there any reference made to the Kawehno recreation when there was a year ago that there was a request that the Kawehno recreation, a new facility, be placed in the capital plan. So just wondering, were those words given or said to deaf ears? Where's the commitment to the Kawehno recreation? This is what we have, what you've seen. We don't have a gym. We don't have a field that has a playground for kids. We can't even use the gym at the school. We build partnership with the recreation. We support the school. We support childcare because that's where the kids are. But there's no place for them to come here if they want to play volleyball or if they want to play floor hockey. So where is that? How come we don't see Kawehno Rec on here? Anybody?
Response.
It was said a year ago.
I'm sure I was at that meeting and I think what was happening at the time was there was a design to add on a big facility over at Arena that was going to carry some of those items that you have. Like this right now is developing a strategy plan right now, economic development, and I think that that building that you're referencing is on there. It's going to be probably on their strategy plan because they took over the arena operations and functions.
So what are we looking at in terms of time? I know the capital plan is over 1 year, I get that. But I don't want to be year 19.
Well, this is the time we have to start hitting the federal government parties because they're all pushing for this reconciliation, which probably could fall into the reconciliation document, and hopefully we can identify
This community youth recreation center, right in here. Look at number 2 here, for space. It's number 1. Where it says space needs. It says community hub and youth center. includes program includes a youth recreation center. I'm just real curious where that is.
That's at the end of, Wade LaFront Road, the former dump road inside.
Also,
All the way down, that intention is to open up that property to start developing here.
also, you're gonna put a recreation youth center down tonight.
It's a community hub and meeting center with, it's a, cultural, traditional, and Western resources, and it's youth recreation center, support services, and teen clinic, food pantry, community kitchen vendors, and local services. But I think what you're talking about, from the conversations we had with the economic development director the other day, she was working with social to open up the arena more, to expand for more social recreational programming.
Okay. So, I was here last year, no, it's not, same issue. Can I get a commitment from somebody on council that what you just said, April, is that it's with that department? That department director, whoever it is, will come and meet with the Kawehno recreation. They can come to our monthly meeting, whatever, we can have a special meeting for that. But if that's what you're saying, then have them come and talk to us. Because this is really frustrating when we see other recreation getting priority over us. And when we brought it a year ago.
Is that,
I'll speak with, Kylie Tarbell and pass it over to our economic development portfolio holders.
so I think that's part of the study too, though, the capital plan is to identify some of these priorities, and I think there's a couple multi-prongs here. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's not a priority, because I know that, you know, from the trust work that's happening as well, there's some opportunities there. So I would say that it's not it's not a priority. It's just, where is it gonna fit in? I think members have heard what you have to say, and we can commit to reporting back where this could fit in.
Commit. The Department of Economic Development will come and meet with the Kawehno Recreation Committee. Can you commit to that?
Yeah, there's definitely, I think there's that one element that we can make sure that happens, but also if there are developments happening at the arena and there's this youth hub that's potentially being developed in Snai, there definitely are consultations that need to happen with the community and with stakeholders, and the Kawehno recreation is a stakeholder. So we'll make sure that those consultations or meetings are happening in the planning, not telling you this is what we're gonna do, but rather this is what we want to do. What your thoughts? How can we feed into this?
Okay, one last thing. If you're gonna commit that they'll come and meet with us, we have it within a reasonable time frame, like within the month before the end of the fiscal year, not in June, not in July, not in October. That's what I'm thinking.
Seem reasonable? Okay, yes. Was there something you wanted to add to this discussion?
Quick question, is that academics role? To take over childcare, to take over recreation for the island? I don't believe so. I think ACDEV's role was to work with businesses and support them financially. I think that's how it's supposed to work, and that's one of the reasons I said last week, or last meeting in Stein, that it was important to have a consultation, that's what I meant, consultation with community members on your plan. Council had all the time to sit down with all the programs to say, this is what we want, what do you want, what do you want, what? None of it came back to the community to get their opinion on it. Now, the recreation for Kawehno Island is a priority. Lynn's right, we don't have a gym. We don't have anything to do with, anything for the kids to do, to have activities where we needed them. And I remember when we ran for council, because I was on there for the district, all of you said that you supported the recreation center and recreational activities happening for the island. That's what should be happening. Those should be the priorities. Don't let economic development. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to get more of a crowd down at the arena to fund them and to keep them afloat. I understand that, but to me, that's not a priority. economic development should be working with small businesses. My wife has one. I can't get no help from you guys. It's not, it's maddening. And it's terrible that we have an economic, a so-called economic development program who does not fulfill its role in this community. That's what your priority for you guys to be working.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. We'll go to the back here and then we'll go back over to my left. Go ahead. That's you, Carol.
So my question is, when did the consultation take place in the community to develop this list? Because if this is a new project, this new hub thing, whatever, when did that consultation take place? Because you're showing us a list, Bob. This word consultation comes out a lot. We had 80 people show up for a consultation of $400 million. And I'm gonna keep harping on the $400 million because I expected to see that presentation to what the community's priority was. And off memory, the fire department down Snide was the #1 thing probably that I wanted down there. I don't know what came up in the other two districts, but I definitely know the fire department was #1. So where do we tie those dots together? When do we do that? Who was consulted to put this new hub on this list here? And then how do we designate these roads if there's already an existing list and you present a list, but you don't tell us 1, 2, 3, and 4. But when you go to the office, you say you're number 8 on the list. What am I on the list about the Lee Street, the village? Do you make me number 6? Or I wasn't number 1. I'll get a petition in the village. We'll make Lee Street or Sweetgrass #1. What happens with that information when I present it? Where does it go? Like she said, does it fall on deaf ears? Did their concern fall on deaf ears a year ago? Can somebody answer about the consultation process to this, what was presented?
These projects derive from the strategic planning and also the CCP, the Community Comprehensive Plan back in 2016.
Use the microphone, please. You can't hear you.
These projects came about from strategic planning and the Community Comprehensive Plan back in 2016.
So there is, as part of the project development, there is a requirement for consultation as well. I mean, we can answer the question on, not tonight, but we can undertake to answer the question of how the youth hub concept came about. But I can tell you that all of the capital projects will have a consultation mechanism as well at some point stage in them. So the question, how did this get on there? We'll undertake to answer that. Back over here.
Okay, so I got a few things, I'm just gonna hit them off straight off the bat.
Are they related to the presentation?
Yes, your capital
Okay,
plan.
got it,
fire
perfect.
station number 3. Why does it need to be so big? When it's only a volunteer fire department. Is this why that's voted out last year? As a question, absolutely large facility. It should be cut and included additional emergency services and amps. This, should have a survey. What is happening in the space down the Montego where the old 3-story building was? I heard at a last meeting, some meeting down saying that they suggested for special needs, but that came up in the air. If all the money is going into these schools to upgrade the lands, the lots, the schools themselves, why not take the next step and combine it for all in one to get started on the junior and high school that's been taught for 50-something years? What else? You're talking about bridges, when will there be a new Seaway Bridge? And other things are, oh, yes, the island. Yes, we do need more attention for our children here. And why Snide needed more attention than Phenomenal and Kawehno. Why are they always getting this stuff? Is it favoritism? You know, if they're not even getting community, surveys done for it, they're just top secret jump, we're just gonna do this. And one other thing, I think our council needs to work as a team more. I don't see a team. I look here, every time I come, I look and it doesn't look like a team last night. So, yeah, I'd like to see new faces, working as a team. Either that, you all start working as a team. Because it's getting really sad.
It's getting started.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Was there any response that you just want to have on any of that, or? I think there's more comments in there than direct questions. Okay, I can say on the Snipe Fire Hall, there is a consultation that is gonna be happening, which is captured on this slide or number 2 on slide 6 in the presentation. So that's part of, again, the part of the community consultation on capital projects that's required to move along the design, the funding, and the construction phase. Something. Okay. Okay. Any other questions on the presentation? Going once? Twice? All right. Thank you very much to the 4 of you for presenting just this evening. We have a number of items as take back and follow up, so we will report that back at next month's general meeting. Okay, the next item that we want to provide an update on was Quebec Hydro. So I'm going to turn to Chief Sarah and Chief Cindy to give us a quick update on that as well.
Good evening. I'm just gonna give a quick update on Quebec Hydro. This is by Marie France Imar. Currently, Quebec Hydro and some Mohawk contractors are doing some mitigation work on the lines now that it's winter and the ground is frozen. They're able to go up to the marshes and trim some bushes around the trees that have potential to run natural wires. This is a continuation of tree trimming work that began in 2023. It's approximately 85% of the work is completed. The remaining 15% of the work is in difficult to access locations in the wetlands. The work is currently taking place in difficult to access locations. Quebec Hydro is going through their process to obtain the authorization to carry out the work in some of that wetland areas, such as environmental assessments and work with the environment. This work will is just currently being done to help with Mohawk regions to meet that conditions.
Okay, so my information on Hydro-Quebec is just customer service information. My apologies, it should have been in your package. I'm not sure why it's included, but community members have been calling recently due to the Quebec Hydro application that was given by CSP, and they were looking for certain information with regards to how much money I have in credit or what's happening. Is it being applied? A lot of community members were having trouble, so we reached out to the level to provide us some information. The customer service, the Indigenous customer service number is 1-866-268-9484. The service hours are Monday to Friday from 8:30 until 4:00. I received a confirmation that all representatives who work at the Indigenous Community Service Center are by the It's always best for each customer to have the last invoice on hand before they call, as the representative must identify each customer. When a customer dials the 1-800 number, there's an automatic message in French that begins with options 1, 2, 3, and 4. Please offer option number 4. This is the service in English. Press 1. That's the update.
So just, I want to add a bit of more information to the Quebec Hydro file. So the Ontario First, or sorry, the
Yeah, thank you.
Assembly of First Nations Quebec and Labrador, AFNQL, which is a political body in Quebec that represents the 43 First Nations in Ontario. We're part of that organization. And so one of the files that they've had ongoing is an energy file, as well as a relationship file with Quebec Hydro. So yesterday, I was part of a small delegation of about 6 members of 6 chiefs in Quebec that met with the president and CAO of Quebec Hydro. And so the meeting was really about relationship building with with Quebec Hydro. There was some specific examples talked about in where energy projects are happening in Quebec that First Nations are not being part of or not being involved in. A representative from Kawehno was there as well, talking about the relationship they're building, because they have a project going forward as a transmission line running through their territory that is transmitting or transferring power into the United States. And so I had an opportunity to express to the CEO of Hydro-Quebec our discontent. And one of the things that they talked about at the meeting was resolving grievances with communities. And that's generally what they're thinking around grievances, is when Quebec Hydro goes in and builds a big hydro project and does lots of damage, and there's grievances caused from that. And so I let the CEO know that we have a long-standing history of grievances in Akwesasne, and that we continue to have grievances in Akwesasne, and that's with the electrical reliability in our community. I use the context of, when I was younger, going to my grandmother's, and it was kind of a joke at that time, that, the wind blows and the power goes, right? And so, then fast forward to being now, it still continues to be that difficult, but the outages are much longer and have, a greater impact to our community than they did previously. So, I let the CEO know that the damages that is being created from, one, the surges, and then two, the long outages that is, harming the community. And I let them know that we feel like we're being targeted, and in fact being discriminated upon because of what's happening in our community. So he has undertaken to follow up with a meeting with our leadership and do a community tour as well. And I said the challenge here is that in our community, because of the jurisdictions, it is frustrating when you have one part and specifically around Border Road in Design, when your power's off and the guy across the road is always on, right? And it's very, and we have community members that have family on Cornwall Island, and everybody around you, the power's on except for in Stein and St. Regis. That's frustrating. So he's undertaken to follow up with a meeting with us and to a tour of the community. One of the things he did say is he was very well briefed on me being there and going to be likely raising this. And I said that I don't want to dismiss the fact that this is a real big problem in our community. That our community is there's trauma that's created by wind power outages, that we're trying to continue to thrive as a community, and we have this issue. So I know that doesn't solve now, and we've been giving regular updates on the work that they're doing to stabilize the line. He did say one thing to me that, really, take it what it is. He says, I continue to be told by the organization that, the vegetation, meaning trees and things like that, is causing the lines to go to arc and break and go out. But he said, in your community, you can't tell me that, New York and Ontario don't have trees as well. Meaning, why is the power only in Quebec going off and it's not happening in other parts? So we're going to continue to lobby Quebec to improve. They've made some improvements. We definitely thus far have been pretty lucky on weather circumstances in our community, which continues to be a very, a huge factor. But I can tell you that council's committed to making sure that we continue to advance this file. And we have allocated additional monies to the generator program that it rolled out. So that is being made available as well. Of course, that's procurement. Of course, that takes some time, but we're definitely doing some mitigation work and lobby work to make sure that this issue doesn't fall off and continues to be addressed by those responsible. So, are there any questions on the Quebec Hydro presentation?
Real quick, is there any movement on having a community meeting project? Where like we had Gary McDonald and Carrie, where it's so much easier talking to an English person than it is to a person that's French who thinks they can talk English. Because there's a big difference there. We have, I work with a lot of community members who have to deal with Hydro-Quebec. It's very difficult getting through with them to them and having them understand it. It would be a lot easier if we had some English speaking working in our community, working with our community.
Do you have any information on that, either the two of you? No. Okay. It's definitely something that we continue to hear within the administration of MCA and from the community. Obviously, for the Quebec, reasoning that we don't have one is resources and privacy as well. But we definitely, when the CEO does come here, we'll put that to them. But it's important that we have that direct line, because as the information that Chief Cindy shared, it's people want to know what those credits are. And that, since we've made the payments for the, heating assistance, people want to make sure that the payment's been received and where they're at so they can, plan accordingly. It's not so easy to get that information. As she's described, press 1, press 2, wait for this, have a bill. Much easier when you could call, housing and talk to Carrie or Jerry and they'll give it to you very quickly.
Just a quick update for your Hydro-Quebec. It was mailed out. And we were trying to get it to be put into our system and finance, but they couldn't do it, so we had to mail it. And it didn't get to them until like January 6th or 7th. So that means it won't show up in your bill until February, because they already printed their January bills and it already went out to be mailed. So February, it should show up. If you don't get it in February, you can give me a call. Phoenix Park program is there.
Okay, thank you. And I was reminded, oh, go ahead, don't, it's our.
Gary, just on your question, you can still utilize Natalie Job. She's our, Jacobs, she's a Quebec liaison, and if you have a question regarding your bill, you can just take a picture and email it to her. She'd get back to you and give it, so she can still utilize her.
Okay. Any other questions on the Quebec Hydro? Yeah, go ahead, you have your hand up. Yeah, that's you.
Is the community gonna also, we're gonna have. Because nobody knows except the people in Snide and say what it's like to live days on end at no home.
It's a consideration, yes, that we will look at.
Even if we invite the leaders, it's better.
All right, thank you. Okay, if nothing else, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question. Residents in Snide, St. Regis, are they charged a tax?
No,
They're not charged a tax?
no.
Because I know on B38, here on the reserve, we charge tax with the apartment tax.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are saying, why are we taxed? It's coming to the reserve. It's like anything else. I don't know if we had any complaints, but I'm just bringing out the issue. Like, have other people seen it on their warrant, on their bills?
Yeah, so I do take that back. If there's any propane providers that come from Canada that deliver to Snide or St. Regis, they will have the carbon tax on. So we've received a number of calls in relation to this. The federal government's position on this is that the carbon charge, which is under the Greenhouse Pricing Comparity Act, or something like that, is that the carbon tax is not a tax for all intents and purposes under the Indian Act. It's a charge, right? So this is how they get around putting it on your bills, our bills in community. So the Chiefs of Ontario has filed a judicial review, basically taking the candidate to court over this to have those charges removed because of the violation of our rights. It's improper because the government has given exemptions in other parts of the country for the carbon tax and hasn't done it to First Nations. It's discriminatory. So there's a legal challenge happening. It doesn't satisfy right now, but I can tell you that the federal government's under a lot of pressure to remove that tax that's happening. It only happens on propane that's delivered from Cornwall into the community. If you're buying from number 9, it's not in there. Yeah. So yes, go ahead.
So in regards to that hydro, I have a few thoughts and a few questions. So one of them is you're probably not the first to lobby for that hydro for this issue. I'm wondering how this has been tracking over the years since our community has been supplied energy from them. I sort of like want to see like a data or something tracking not only the lobbying efforts, but also other legal efforts or avenues that have been put forward from our council to mitigate the situation beyond friendly conversations, and also tracking more specifically the community members. Each and every one that has suffered not only like emotional, I guess, just
stress and economic stress, and you guys have like not having electricity for 3 or 4 days, being on fixed incomes, and then all your meat is brought in, your milk is sour. You know, you just have to deal with this sort of level of difficulty that has to. For me, at this point, it seems like legal action needs to be put on the table in order to get into act. It's 2024, like, this shouldn't be happening at all. We have all generations of communities that live at portions of the reservation. So between, you know, tracking your mitigation efforts towards resolving this issue, but also steadily tracking community issues. So we can and will have a case to build against them and to present to them well on it. Because they always here, this is our battle. And like, let's talk, let's negotiate something real, or, you know, go to court and sue them. Because there's real damages to our community members. And I don't think it's fair that we're being so passive in these things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This has been brought up before, and we have done a pretty extensive presentation in the past. We've had Quebec Hydro at one of the general meetings as well. I can tell you that we have looked at this. I mean, we'll continue to look at options, right? I mean, the challenge, and I did tell, I mean, you know, I did tell the CEO that if you can't give us reliable power, then we'll find somebody who will. We'll take, you know, we'll take the assets and we'll find somebody who can, right? And so, the problem, you know, the challenge is how much we're willing to put behind this as well, right? Because going to court, we had a preliminary analysis done, you know, and the very technical boring is that by accepting electricity, and it's not, you are a consumer and you accept that the service is being provided, unless they are negligent and it causes damage, then they're not liable. That's what the legal has come back with, right? And so whether they're negligent because the tree fell on the line is hard to say. If they pumped, you know, 50,000 megawatts into Akwesasne all at once, every refrigerators blow up, that's pretty straightforward negligent. The problem is that, you know, what we have seen from them and what the assessments that we have done, it is the vegetation. The trees are, you know, those things are causing the outages and the surges. So it is, I mean, we've looked at it, but definitely tracking it, I think, is important. Yes.
City last year had a report from it, like, and they tested the anomalies being discovered. Do you remember, Cindy, they tested the anomalies along the main line that comes from Quebec to us? We're at the end of the extension cord, okay? And they said it wasn't Akwesasne that was causing the power outage. It was somewhere else. It wasn't our community, it wasn't our trees or vegetation or squirrels or nothing, but the youngsters. And that they said squirrels, if you remember. And they said none of the anomalies was caused in the electricity outages. It was somewhere else. Okay. So here we are closed, we have no power, people are suffering. And Mohawk is spending money because it's not working. Everybody's got no power. So why don't they, first of all, pay us back the money that we wasted? And secondly, because we are in the extension cord, why don't you lobby for a lower rate? Because I'm 47 years old. The power's been going out this same way for 47 years. So why can't we, okay, this happens to you often. So instead of paying the same rate as Farmstown or Huntington or Battlefield, when these are at the end and the cost is coming from Farmstown, Huntington or Battlefield, we're gonna give you this rate because they have the power to do that. You know what I mean? So has that ever, that is an idea, feasible one too. You know, because we're gonna continue to have our power go until up there. We're all gonna be dead. The power is still gonna go the way it does, and we're still gonna suffer. So why do we have to pay so much? You know, it's legit.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely something we can put to them as well. All right, on the Quebec Hydro stuff, go ahead. Yep.
So yeah, it just makes me think of the Loyalist project where we have a more efficient more independent energy source. That, you know, I think it was a matter of where does the funding come from to develop that, to implement that. But we have a lot, we're all against it. Greater around it, we're all against it, like, just take it out, do it, let it self pay itself back, community members pay for it. Like, we have to get out of their control and actually be solving in these type of ways. So I'm just wondering where the wellness project is at this point, and what is the environment of support within the top council towards it.
Somebody have a response to that? They had asked us for a letter of support so that they could apply for funding. We provided that to them. We've been conversating with the tribe on this project as well, because in order for this to work, it has to be a community-wide project. So we don't have a current update, but it's definitely something we can find out. Okay. All right, we're gonna move along then. We'll move to business from the floor. Yeah, go ahead.
I said, I brought up to the attention of the district meeting, and it has to do with the reparations class action settlement. So if anybody here is not aware of that, this was a government of Canada settled this class action lawsuit for about $2.8 billion. And over 300 First Nations opted into that class action lawsuit. Now that it's settled, they're going to be paying billions of dollars to those 300 communities for culture and language. And I know that's one of the top priorities of strategic plan is culture and language. This money's going to get paid out over the next 20 years. And I want to know, why did Akwesasne opt out of that class action settlement? And if we didn't qualify, why didn't we qualify? And why didn't our council bring that news to the community?
Thank you. Does anybody have a response to that? Is that the water one? Is that the one or reparations?
More Pillar Society, it's in all the news and CBC News.
Edward, do you have information?
So when we looked into the inquiry that we brought forth on that, we had came back and looked at it, and we were under the impression that the IFN, because IFN is part of that, in Akwesasne being one of the 12 communities. That's how we were looking at it by going into it, and then by the final center would be like involved. But again, we're getting confirmation on that through our director of public relations on report. But this time, that's what I'm going to provide some information.
Go ahead. Follow up.
So everybody's aware in our communities from IFN that did get opt into this settlement. This has been on the works since 2022, and probably even longer than that. So this is where we expect our chief and council to be out there, not missing those opportunities for us. So now we try to raise money for our arts and culture, language and culture. The government just gave a couple $1 billion to this settlement. It's going to be even harder for us to get federal dollars for arts and language.
Well, we can continue to we'll get some more additional information on that, as Edward has said that we're covered under the IFN on that, but they're looking into it. Go ahead.
Just, can you clarify who the director of Indigenous Affairs, you said our director of Indigenous Affairs, who was that? MCA or MCA?
Director of Governmental Relations. That's Diane here under the independent decisions.
It's not what the MCA.
No, not with MCA.
Okay, we'll move on. Next item.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Wait, no, reimbursement, back. Yeah, no, that's you. Go ahead.
Okay, first, I have three questions, three things. Jackie, were you impressed with that, referendum in December, concerning the election law?
Was I what?
Were you impressed with, community involvement for your referendum in December concerning the election law and the results?
You mean the referendum itself?
Yeah, we had a referendum in December, right, concerning the election law. Because you weren't satisfied with the community participation. Remember you were able to do it back to the community or to the working class group and then change everything. Our grand chief got an ethics violation because of it. I just want to know if you were satisfied with the results of that election law referendum.
With the results?
Yeah,
It's not really, am I satisfied with it or not? That's up to the community, so. It was up to the community to vote yes or no.
okay. So none of the things that we had met with the working class group was included in the referendum. It was all gone, well, we had our meetings ago. The same time, and we spoke up at that last meeting before, stating that you had issue with community involvement.
No.
Okay, so when we went to vote, none of those things we've ever seen, ever before.
Well, you're misquoting me. I didn't say I wasn't happy with it. I said it wasn't a good representation of the community.
You said we,
No, I didn't say we're not happy or anything like that.
well, you're the one that's, you know, the words. But I'm just saying, with the results, you know, was it worth that we got the word Akwesasne to be put in front of the word election law, and that our grand chief got an ethics violation because of it. Was it worth, I'm just asking both of you, if all that was worth it. When you should have just left what the working class group had created and presented, and let the community go from there. Because I know a lot of people that went to the referendum, a lot of elders, they didn't even know what they were looking at. It was crazy. You know, it was like, why are we even here? And then, that's what came on. You know, I just want to know what you would stop, if you would stop. The community participation. Finals.
Doesn't really matter if I'm satisfied with that or not. I mean, it was a referendum. People could go and vote yes or no.
Your next question?
Next question. So is it true that you recently received your bachelor's degree? Or-
Me?
Not you, not,
Oh.
we're done. Next question. You're done. You, grand chief. Did you receive any kind of degree, educational degree?
No,
Okay, I heard that.
you hear lots of things about me.
I was just trying to find out.
There you go. There you go. Like I said, you hear lots of things about me.
Yeah, well, I don't get interested.
Oh, wow, geez.
Okay, third question. You know, our council, you guys, it's an election year. You know, I asked when, especially you, because at one time you asked, somebody was saying something about certain things going on, and you stated, why are you putting all this at my feet? I don't know if it was the context of the conversation, but we have marijuana. We have the emergency measures or whatever the hell it's law. We have a check for $46 million seaway. We have election law referendum, you know, and if I get my way in court, we're gonna have a New York State land claims referendum. And I hope it gets, so I want to join in that debate. But I'm just saying, when do you stand up and say, you know what, I think I've lost the community's trust? I think, they're not listening to us anymore, they're not following us, we're getting defeated every time we put something out. You know, when do you just say, you know what, I resign? You know, I'll take it, you know, and stand up like a man or a woman and say, the community isn't following us anymore. When does that happen? You know, when it's never one, like you never would, as the leader of our community, stand up and say, I've been defeated the last 25 times. Right, present something to abuse, and I think it's time for you to step down and get somebody else a vote. You accept any responsibility for the way the turnup's been, the results of these laws being defeated, the claim being defeated, the referendum being defeated. Anything like as the ranking or as a chief. What are your thoughts on the way things are going?
Are you asking me directly? Because,
Pretty direct to all of us.
well, we're not gonna go down the line here and ask how members of council feel. All of these initiatives have gone to the people and the people have expressed their will. We learned from what we've done. I mean, whether they were successes or failures is definitely up to the community to decide, and we continue to advance. I mean, as people don't want certain things and we look at why they don't want them and we improve upon that. So if you're asking if I accept that, I mean, the people have spoken. It's contrary to popular belief. I mean, council votes on the decisions. So I deliver them, right? And I assist council, I lead them as a leader, I support them, they support me. But the decisions are not made by Ibram Bennett, and they're not solely made by members of council here. Let's not forget the Mohawk Council is a large organization with a number of departments and a lot of moving parts that make recommendations. We have offices that do research. We have offices that do different things and make those governance questions to us. And we either go to the community or sometimes we make those tough, difficult decisions ourselves. So I don't think that you can say, do you accept, you know, the status of these things? We learn from where we've gone and we accept where, you know, we have to do better. And if the community is not ready for a law on cannabis, then that's what it is, right? I mean, maybe it's at the time, you know, we haven't had a chance to unroll some of these things. And I think that, you know, responsible leadership will continue to move forward and learn from this.
Okay, but responsible leadership, put that aside, because you're in court right now, because you weren't being a responsible leader. So is there an update on your ethics?
That's, you've just made a statement of your opinion, right? I mean, members, and I always say this to every member that has an issue with members of council here. The same venue that's available for me to hold members accountable is the same venue that's available to you. And that's the ethical conduct law in this process. So members have felt that they weren't happy with my conduct, which I was doing business on behalf of council and used the process available there. I can't comment on it further because there will be a process that needs to be rolled out where, you know, the decision will be made by the proper people.
Yeah, but the complaint was made from the government office. That's your secretaries.
I didn't say that.
Well, I'm saying it because I have a problem.
Okay.
And I have problems if anybody wants to see it, but I'm saying. Why do you like take responsibility for anything? You know, like you said, you're not going to talk about it. Well, we know people know. I mean, sometimes even before you. You know, some people have that ability, but I'm saying, as a grand chief, you know, like when you stand up and say, you know what, yeah.
There are processes to adjudicate complaints and we'll follow that process. I'm sure that you can appreciate that.
Okay.
Yes, and you know, I'll follow the process and we'll wait for that to happen. And it's open to the community and, you know, I mean, however that happens, that happens. So your third question, please.
Third question is a sitting district chief. Should have been man stood up and said concerning he knows. I came here and I was gonna flip the table and I'm tired. You know, like I need to know when
to stand up and say, you know what? I did something and this is what I'm gonna do to hold myself accountable. You know. Sometimes that makes you a better person. You know, there's no ethics, committee, you're not accountable to nobody. Because you don't show up to general meetings, you take off whenever you want, you know, like, there's laws, and there's that's breaking the law. But anyway, you start contemplating, some of these don't even go into the office anymore, you know, like. When are you guys gonna just stand up and be honorable, because that council table is definitely missing the honor that it is to sit in one of those chairs. You know, us as community members, we're not dumb. We know what's going on. We know that your office is actually in disarray. People are helping people in the government office, but listen, when you stand up and say, we're sorry, we can't do it. You know, there's nothing wrong with walking on the door and giving up the chair. I mean, that checking back, you know what I mean? Like, I wish you would end your terms. It's an election year, so we're all watching, and a lot of us think of be back. But to end your terms, bringing honor back to that game, it's not there.
All right. Thank you for your comments and your assertions. We will go over here. Oh, sorry, yes, there was one in the back, then we're coming to the front, and then we have the hand that's up.
I have a question. Last October, the council, or actually, you might have been made aware of the airport products industry that plans on opening up shop up the river from us. That's gonna drop chemicals into what we thought at one point was clean river for us again. What is the position of council on airport products industry opening up in Messina behind West Plant Alcoa that's gonna dump chemicals into the river? Have you filed with the ADC with your opposition to that taking place? And what's the environment?
Who's on environment?
Me.
Okay, so the environment portfolio, were you made aware of this? Air Products Chemical Industry opened their shop up river from us, and what is the position of council that take against? We're all dying of cancer here. There's no carcinogens in the river. We're hearing about this at the 11th hour in the community. Some people probably don't know just yet about what that company really does. Can anybody speak to this? Air Products and Chemical League?
Jackie, did you want something?
Is this on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I forwarded the email to our acting director of the environment department. I did the email myself where you could email in for comments. I think I sent it to the rest of council too, for all of us to do the same. And Kayla is aware of it. Kayla Sunday is our environment manager director. So.
What position are you taking? What's the position of council?
On behalf of the community.
We haven't formulated an official position yet, but we definitely will. And this is something we need to, we will discuss with the tribe as well to understand what their position is and whether or not it aligns with ours, but it definitely is something that we will take a position on.
February 19th. I hope we get a position paper in place before the deadline is extended. We have had community members sending in and faxing in and emailing in, and we're trying to bombard them. That's why they have to do an extension, because they were so overwhelmed with what they're getting from our community members on this project. Now we want to hear from leadership on what position they're going to take to protect us.
All right, thank you. Up here in the front, and then we're gonna go to the back.
Hello, Wayne.
Hello.
I just wanted to ask the council, all of you, could you give me a full definition of what a certificate of possession is?
Somebody want to, Jackie, can you respond to that?
Have to put that up. Because everybody in the community has it. A certificate of possession is a lawful certificate issued to an Indian for their land, and have the possessory right to Now, if we have the possessory right to the land, no decision should be made on our property unless the Indian in possession of that land is willing. I notice in your agreement with the self-government, you're in the latter stages of agreement with the self-government, right? Is that?
I'm not sure that we're in the latter, but there's a process happening.
Why write it in paper if you're gonna deny?
Does it say we're in the latter?
Yes, the
Okay.
latter stages between MCA and the Canadian government. It was in one of your documents.
Okay.
The reason I'm asking is because in your agreement, the self-government agreement that you're working on, I see that you're gonna eliminate 1834 of the Indian Act. You're gonna take all the responsibility of that part of the Indian Act in your agreement. Now, in here, you're gonna eliminate 18 to 41 sections of the Indian Act. To take the full jurisdiction, you're gonna take all the responsibility, principles, basic rules, and its administrative structures that apply to the lands. You're supposed to be working on a new land code. And that wasn't questioned in the land code, because of the fact that we had 200 land disputes, and you guys were gonna ignore that and move on this new land code that you're working in this latter part of the agreement. Now, whoever working on this self-government agreement, could someone explain to me 21-29 possession of lands in reserve? If the Indian is rightfully owner of the possessory right to the lands, certificate of possession, what way are you going to, in your new land code? What are you going to do as far as possessory right? Can you explain to me the possession of lands in the reserve? That's gotta be the certificate of possession, that's the only possession that people own. So what, in your self-governing agreement, so what are you looking at to take possessory right of the land?
Now for that question, the land code is still being developed, it's still being worked on. But there's a lot of, things that we have experienced dealing with our lands, even transfers, estates and all that other stuff that's being held up in the Indian Act the way it sits today. So the way we're working on this negotiation is we want to control, we want to do the administration of everything. And those land disputes that you talked about, INAC created those. So INAC is responsible to resolve those before we sign on to this land claims agreement, because we're still going to be holding them accountable for those land disputes. Because right now, we don't have the authority to deal with them. They all have to follow the Indian Act process. And in that process, we're trying to gain control of those administrative duties. So that way we don't have to even answer to them for anything. We can take care of everything in-house, providing if the community, when the consultation occurs on how they feel this should go, there'll be what do you call it, consultation sessions for feedback and all that. So that way the process is that we're working on is actually bought in by the community, so we can move forward. There's so many, even with leases, and all our leases on the islands, it's always handled by a third party. And its own, the lease agreement is between the leaser and Mohawk Council. And yet there's a third party involved to ensure. And every time we try and discipline a leasee that is either impacting the environment a certain way or fraudulent or breaking his lease agreements, every time we move forward to cancel a lease, we're being told we can't by the Indian Act.
Well, I'm not talking about the leases.
Well,
I'm talking about possessory right, the certificate of possession.
Well, certificates of possession is something that you hold to verify that you are the sole possessor of the land that you're occupying.
Absolutely, and it's a lawful certificate.
Yes,
You agree?
yes,
So I don't want nobody messing with my properties. I have 5 certificates of possession. And I don't want no one making decisions unless the possessory right holder, the Indian that holds the possessory right, is involved in any decision making that you have at the table. See, you're contradicting what you say, because the prior problem, all the mistakes made with certificate of possession is not really all of Canada should be responsible. Because Indian land reserved for Indians, 9124, their Constitution Act are responsible for all inland land. But this land code was brought up at another meeting, and it said that we only are gonna, the day our land code for self-government is done, we are only gonna take the rightful distributing and decision-making from the people that, from that day forward when the agreement signed. That's what was said to us.
That's
Now, yeah, but you're saying, no, you're saying that everything's gonna be fixed once we get the right. That's not what's said to you.
I didn't say that. Administratively, everything's gonna be easier to process and do things without having to answer to a third.
Because I asked the question, Vince, who's responsible for the land dispute? And you said, well, once we get agreement, we're only taking over from that day forward. Anything prior that's a mistake is up to you to fix with the government. So what kind of leadership is that if you expect the people to fight the government over something that was created wrong? A mistake, 26 to 27 of your own Indian Act states that if there is an error or mistake made by the minister or the council or any transfer, it's a responsibility of the government to fix all of it. It's not the responsibility of the people. There should be a class action lawsuit today, a strong one, with all the landowners that have mistakes made and nobody listened to them. I keep telling the people that the class action should involve the Mohawk Council and the government of Canada for allowing this genocide to happen against the people. It's an administrative effort. And until it's fixed, the people have to live on that. We're landed generations of our land right now, down to our children, to a land dispute. And what the hell good is that? You know how much land is available right now and tied up over land disputes? Thousands of acres of land. And what are we gonna do about it? We're worried about buying property and going this. We need to fix what's in Homeford. Our children need something to lean on so they can at least breathe at night and sleep at night knowing that this whole property is theirs. It's bad. And I don't understand why the council isn't got something together and draw the people together. Bring all the landowners together. They can explain to you. They'll yell at you. They'll tell you what's going on, where the mistakes are made. You need to fix it. This is going on now for how many years? For a long time it's going on. So it's time for this council to sit down and start fixing what's in-house. And the possession right of the Indians is their right. They occupy, they have a lawful certificate of possession for their personal property.
All right, thank you. You definitely, I mean, well, as we move forward with the self-government negotiations, I mean, obviously, community consultation engagement is a huge part that we've been, continue to talk about internally, and we want to roll that out in the next.
Well, where are you right now with this agreement?
Well, I mean, I think there's some pretty big, there's quite a, it may seem it's in the latter part, but there's some pretty big hurdles that have to be,
30 years. 30 years now, it was mentioned that there's an election coming up. And the majority of the nation building process decision made by the council themselves. Now you have an election and some of these people, these chiefs don't get back in again. So a new group comes in, are they gonna be familiar with the steps that are done in nation building?
Well, the process, the self-government negotiation has been happening for quite some time, a considerable amount of time. And so there have been many general elections that have occurred during that period. So I mean, we're moving towards closing it up, but it will not be in the next two years. I can assure you that. So please stay tuned. Well, I mean, it's probably 20 years at least. So anyways,
I just don't want no one messing with me.
no, understood. Thank you. We're gonna go to Fawn and then we'll go to Pat and then we'll go to Cheryl.
Hi, question for Julie Phillips. Your meeting update here. I was just wondering, how was your special needs meeting planned for January 31st? What type of events and projects are you so planned?
That meeting was postponed, due to the availability of the, social worker. So we haven't had a meeting in a few weeks.
Is there any news on a special needs facility, health services?
those are the items that we're going to be discussing. There are a lot of things that he has going on that he was going to be updating us on. What he's been doing and he's going to be pleasure is to the broadband.
Okay, I did schedule a meeting with him and remember once more, unfortunately, she couldn't make it. I thought the difference was from the matter, and we proposed the project for Akwesasne. And, it's a very good plan. I really wish to see it go through. We are trying to hope to get it done, for this fiscal, end of this fiscal year, just to help him spend some of his money. And, kind of felt that hope from the lake. And so if this meeting doesn't happen, and the routine, may back out if I am not a part of this project. Because we worked on this for years. And I worked on something to bring it up, for years. So, and then to feel like I got blackballed and from the specialist position, they reposted it and gave it out other job description equivalency. Yeah, that was kind of a stab. So I just wanted to know what's going on with the special needs and special needs committee over at it's taken quite a bit of long time to get any response out of them. Any approval or denial letters, anything from finance, and yeah, it's getting things frustrating. It's just saying our special needs community is getting pretty frustrated. So we need some heat. Now we need some heat directed at that. We need some heat directed at Jordan's principals, because right now I have a bill of $85,000 to help my son at his special needs school, and Jordan's principals is not paying it. So I will be getting denied services pretty soon, and special needs, we're kind of like not feeling supported. So we really, the community needs to, our special needs community really needs to help. And this has been going on and on. So please, that's all I'm asking is please.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that to our attention. We're actually going to talk about those things. It is something that we can, bring out in the school.
Right.
No, we had, Pat, yep, and then Cheryl.
In conjunction on them, so there was a lot of development, decisions, and what is the next steps they're trying to take after this February 16th date of kind of comments submitted. I still suggest that the community member from Mohawk, my whole life, living in the middle of the three borders, the paper mill and the geode plant and the port. And the water, to the air, to the land, all poisoned to the people. We being one of those people that we walk right through that hole of like suffocating from the air, with these polluters my whole life. So I just want to ask, as you know, council, any responsibility to not only speak for us, but to stand up for us as well, to take legal action and get an injunction to protect us from this next big polluter.
Thank you. Right beside her, that was where we're supposed to go, actually.
Right, since this, Kentenhkó situation is going to be ever, a completed issue with them because of the service problems, is MCA looking at any alternative energy projects in order to look at supply when the hydro goes out?
So in short, I mean, there have been various at different points, some proposals. one of the works that, Quebec Hydro is looking at is the interconnection between New York and Quebec, to provide that power, so that's a possibility. The challenge with renewables is, I mean, we're limited on space, right? It's not impossible. But if we're to have hydro, there's not very much strong water in the Sny channels, which means we have to be on Kawehno Island. Which means that, it's electrical needs a cord, so it has to go from Kawehno Island to Sny. Renewables like, we have looked at biomass in the past, which mean, I'm not sure communities comfortable with that. Of course, that's something to look at. Wind, I'm not sure that, so there's a number of studies. The challenge, right, is the geographicalness, right? I mean, Sny is, that we don't have a lot of land to put a wind farm in and things like that. So it's not impossible. The most renewable energy projects that exist only generate money for communities, right? I mean, they don't actually generate power for the community. They sign energy projects, but they receive revenues. So, I mean, this is a consideration, but I can tell you that the committee has been continuing to explore what those options are. We're challenged by the geographicalness, because I'd explained at a meeting before, is that, the main transmission line into Sny is down on, is down near Chapman Road. The terrain from that point into Dundee is actually the same if we were to run another line from there to down into Sugarbush and across. You're only taking, like, the swamp, not the swamp, but the terrain is the same there, that it'll be over there. So we really are challenged by the physicalness, but doesn't mean anything's impossible.
There's a lot of type of alternative projects that are available. Including small storage, battery storage. There's so many different things out there, and there's a lot of. Contractors that are willing to speak to you about.
Yeah, there is. It really is about community also approval, right? I mean, small reactors. I'm not sure that the community wants a nuclear reactor in our community, but maybe it is. I mean, definitely is possible. No. Yeah. But yeah.
Opening up in New York State, and Akwesasne can do that themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna go to Sharon. We're at 8:05, and I said we'd do a check at 8:05, so I we'll get a few more in. We'll go till about 8:30. So I see a couple hands up. I'll make the notes. I have a few already. So go ahead.
I'd like to get a commitment on the Dundee money consultation to be presented in February, since we were told in November last night, that would be on January's agenda. Can we get a commitment from council to present the results?
Is that a problem? Yeah, we can do that. Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
The Norman and King Laneway access, who was on that negotiation committee, council who negotiated.
I've been assisting that, basically taking carriage of that
So it's
file.
open now. Did it cost us any money?
No, it didn't cost $100,000. It didn't cost nothing.
Cost zero. No.
To my knowledge, yes, but it was not negotiated with anybody at this table.
Who negotiated then?
Mr. Gray, on behalf of the Tech Services Department.
Who's Mr. Gray?
I don't know his first name offhand.
What is it?
Isn't it? No, he's an employee of the MCA.
Mike Gray.
Oh, so it's not even.
It is temporary, yes.
The environment report on the EDC, that the environment, hopefully will work on, and that was a good suggestion about an injunction to council possibly consider filing an injunction against the EDC or somebody over there who's pushing this. But can we get a copy of the report that is created by our environment department that gets sent and submitted, and also any copies that are submitted with our council's position to the objection to that plan continue.
Yes, we can do that. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Philip. And then the hand that's behind him will be two after. Who's back?
So just a clarification on a few monthly reports.
There was mention of an MCA settlement trust meeting. There are a few council members that went here. What is the settlement trust? MCA settlement trust.
Does member have a response?
So, meeting with the trust committee and their, managing.
Trustee.
And trustee, yeah. So that's the report they gave us based on the end of the fiscal year and all the projects that they want. They based on their responsibilities, they report to us, give us an update on that we found. That's what that is.
There was an application for a EU longhouse. No community has at least two. Get some clarity, is if that's supposed to be a teaching space or recreation, or is that supposed to be residential?
It's teaching be used by the facility.
Okay, so the existing longhouses can provide that.
Well, I think it's more of a conceptual building that's gonna look like a house. It's not gonna be made of birch, but
No, I don't want to split hairs, it's pre contact, post contact.
well, now you're getting very technical and we don't determine that much.
So demonstration versus massive structure.
Mhm.
Another one, it kind of concerning when there is a director that gets meetings from you. I know that if I have checked in my boss, when I say no boss, I'm not meeting no further notice. That's usually not help the sign. Work relationship. Comment thing. So. Council passed November 20th, resolution to confirm the New York State claim referendum all the way back to November 2004. What was the record?
Essentially that, I mean, it's a bit strategic to a certain degree. I mean, there's been lots of conversation about this, and I do know that there's some contention in the community around this. You know, the elements that were considered in 2004 versus the elements that are being considered now are quite close. And so that was one of the reasons, you know, ultimately well, it is a tri-party land claim settlement. I mean, there is a number of benefits that are directly, the tribe is a direct beneficiary of as well. So there's a couple factors that we've considered, and it's not, I mean, the settlement is not complete. But still, it is a very fluid file that continues to change almost daily at this point.
Okay, because when I checked in with OBS, asked how many people that were of a certain age that turned 18 post that date, it was approximately about a third of the membership. So nearly a third of the membership didn't have a voice, including myself and some of the peers. We weren't 18 at that referendum date, so just letting you know. So when I went through, as you had suggested, to go to ATIP to get a hold of MCRs because they are not public documents, which is concerning. I did get to two. And often that did. Several patient redactions. So the only thing I get to know on this is that either we can write a MCR on Monday or on a Friday and have council pass it on Monday. So and I'm not sure if you're following the rules. Yeah. Little easier. So yeah, and it's just a little concerning that a community document that is supposed to be, you know, a symbol of transparency and accountability is redacted, including the accompanying materials. And what really struck me too was when I asked for the meeting minutes for when that MCR was passed, I got almost 4 pages of left. So. Little concerning that it's such a process to get both of these, and that was one. The election law. MCR 2023-2024, number 244. Where we're 7 or 4. Asking for the process for the election law. And another one, which I'm not sure why they acted the filing for and against that we moved and we seconded. But pretty much in MCR that has, I have no idea what it says. But I do have your signatures and it says, you know, yes or no, so I just, the process is very disconcerting. Especially when I can go on the tribal portal and actually get hold of like all the MCRs from 2013, so transparency and accountability is a little concerning. And also with this one, with the submission form, I have overall impact, financial needs, assist with coding, political ensure reputation of MCA, and the community redacted. And then a briefing note that is entirely redacted. Again, meeting minutes redacted. So I'm not sure if transparency and accountability is what we were going for from what is being produced. I did reach out through the process to reach out for kind of reasoning why you're heard it back. But this was requested in September and it was handed to me January 19th. So again, I feel like this is following a long process.
Yeah, I mean, surely you can appreciate process, right? I mean, there's been, you just pointed out about process for myself, so that what you got is a product of process. Not that I agree with that, because I do believe that it should be, but there's a policy that says what can and can't be released, and you got the product of what can be released. So when you talk about timing, I acknowledge the frustration around these things.
Well, if the MCR can be written on a Friday and then brought forward and passed by council on Monday, in theory, council can change the policy and make all MCRs available to the public starting Monday and actually council. So as long as the majority of you agree.
Yeah, well, the access to information policy has been there for a very long time, needs to be updated, and it's not conducive to being transparent. But it is about protecting privacy, and that's exactly what you got, is a product that protects the privacy.
So the number of who voted for and against is a protection of privacy.
I don't know. I don't know the rationale, because an individual does an assessment of that. It doesn't go through me.
But the policy could at least.
The policy is quite comprehensive. I think that's online. It's not a 3-line. It's, well, we can put it online. It's pretty comprehensive.
There's a few regulations online.
So I don't like the process any more than you.
But you have the power to change it.
Every time I exercise some discretion, people get upset. So I'm not sure that's what you're asking me.
Well, let's let the community know.
Thank you.
MCRs are apparently private documents, so we do not know who votes for what unless they publicly disclose it. I would ideally like to see it better. All our neighbors are doing better, so I know this community can do better, and I challenge everyone here to do better. Because if there's censorship, barriers put into place, how does the community know what is happening here?
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Just like approval processes that are onerous and sometimes create barriers. I acknowledge what you're saying. We've had this conversation about the safety policy before, and it does need to be updated.
And one last thing. Last February, I brought up a question as to what were the legal consults and price tags that were paying for that. We're almost to a year again. Sorry, I was teaching my class in Indigenous history of New York State before I got here, so that's the beginning components. Was that mentioned, or was that not even part of the council checklist?
Cindy, was that something you responded to?
It's the consultant.
We did the consultants. That was also one.
Okay, is that in the stocking form somewhere?
It was only verbal. Gary, be nice. Okay,
You're supposed to be public.
thank you.
You're supposed to have all your information out to the community. Everything you do is public because you're dealing with our money, the community's money. Take a stand right now and change that regulation. The ACIP was supposed to come back to this community. It never did. Council ratified it without the community's approval. So go back and fix this. Every document that's in under Mohawk Council should be public. Have people's name on it, redact that name, but the issue still goes forward. That's what needs to be done. That's
Yeah.
transparency.
No, I don't disagree, but yes, I absolutely. We're gonna put that on my list. Yes, that's you. Go ahead, Robin.
All of the on the table about Zoom meetings. I've been raising this issue for a year now, to hire professionals to do this Zoom for community members. We get a message that they're no longer available. I brought it up at the start district meeting. How did this discussion come about? That's how you got we're involved in. All not to provide food to the community. Like, that's a golden opportunity for this council to improve communication with the community. The more times I raise it, like, why, how, when, why, and how did it come on topic at the council discussion? And I don't wanna hear the word food.
I think that, I don't recall where it exactly.
That couldn't recall how it came up. So it came up at this table, I just wanna know how your discussion last night and why are you leaders not available? They're a community.
I think it definitely is.
What's that?
Yeah, I think it definitely is something we need to reconsider. One of the thoughts. I don't know who specifically brought it up. It was discussed that one of the times when we were setting the general meeting agenda. And it was raised whether or not we continue the Zoom option, and council at that time agreed that we wouldn't, but I don't know that it's beneficial to not have it. But ultimately, it's up to council. Mhm. We have heard, since it's not available as an option for tonight's meeting, because this is the first one, we have heard the feedback, and it is something that we will reconsider.
My one more comment on the special meeting. Next meeting, is there be a presentation on the special meetings? The amount of money that's in there and the amount of people that have been helped by it. Like the special needs were that thought originally, it was intended for all community members. That could not get no help from any program in MCA. And it's not no longer that, in the year, these young kids. Or I have no clue if they're, it's trying to do special needs and they're just rushed off. We need to quit picking and choosing who we wanna help, we need to help the entire community, and especially our kids. And my next comment is about health. I went to a meeting in November at Sweetgrass Manor with the elders. And it came about because the elders were no longer going to receive home care, or not necessarily home care, help in their home. They were taking that away. So then a meter comes up and now it's all there, like. When it comes to I asked that meeting about assisted death. Because it needs to be there. It needs to be in our community, it's our community, we're all going, who wants to live that life? In the director of policy, that's a community decision, it's not up to them. So that needs to come up at a general meeting, assisted that in our community. Like, no mention of the deaths from overdose, diabetes. No mention of cancer, no mention of. Oh, I had a whole bunch of them written down, but like they're all there, like, and none of it's mentioned, mental health. Two, you read it in the paper, oh, I'll make it mental health, they have 2 therapists, 2.5 therapists there. Blood work in the home, I've been bitching about that. Our services here need to improve. We're a sick community. I don't know if you don't notice the people dying in our community, whether it's drug use, diabetes, heart attacks, whatever it is, blindness. You don't care. That's all I can say. You don't care. You don't listen. I bring it up at district meetings. I don't go nowhere. We ask our scientists, bring it up on it. Can it be on it? Can you make it up there? Everything on there. None of that was what we talked about in December. But like, I'm not impressed at all. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, then Cheryl, then we move to close.
Just 2 questions. One first for the training. In December, is it December, last time we met?
End of November.
Okay. You, concerning the Muir Land Committee's, recertification, you stood there to say that at the district meeting, what do you want me to do? You want me to go and, give us any. Rescind, and every other meeting raised their hand and said, okay. So here we are, February, and guess what? No rescind MCR from Dwayne Thomas concerning that MCR. So I'm just gonna warn you, when you go to the next district meeting, there's a whole bunch of people that are doing. So I'm just saying, I just want to wow.
So I did bring it up, I did bring our district meeting up and, we talked about it at the table. There's a couple other steps that we can take without that. Because there's still discussion on what we're gonna do moving forward.
Did you learn anything from April? He pulls out the MCR on Friday, vote for it on Monday. So good one, that. Hi. So last year, our lovely BCS showered money down on, you know, all kinds of programs, excluding our farm. And at the time, I said, well, these programs who all got the money, $13 million, they gave fancy pages of paperwork and what it was about. But they gave up this big presentation, gave them money, we got millions here, millions there, and we cursed their names because Dwayne was one that voted yes, and you know, it's all sorted.
No, it's
But
okay.
it was, you know, and I asked you at a district meeting, so they get that money every year, so he's gonna have another Christmas in, you know, March. I said, can you find out how much money he's got this year to go away and zero the fire? Did you find out the amount that the BCS guys got to go away to the American side?
I don't know about giving money to the American side, but we're having a meeting next week back with TCSS. So we should find out a lot of answers to see how much surplus they have this year. And I don't know how they're gonna distribute it. We'll find out then how it's gonna happen.
You know, the whole thing about $13 million, the only thing that broke my heart was, we gave a lot of money to the freedom school. And I look and there's white men, white company building the freedom school. And I was like, that was heartbreaking. That this is our freedom school that's being built by white people, you know, and that's our money. You know, so. Well, that's whatever. But anyway, but it was heartbreaking because there are competent people, because, you know, they're looking at the leads.
Thank you. Cheryl?
Just got two things, I want to clarify that deadline date for comments, it's February 9th, 2024. Miranda Gilmore is the environmental analyst, the regional permits, Region 6, that's who today's submission should be made about, is go online and follow, find all this. My second concern was, when we talk about special needs, I remember going to a meeting in St. Richard and we had a good turnout, which is rare, and it was on special needs, there was a lot of community members there. And they had all these flip charts up on the wall, and the community was putting a lot of good ideas forth there about what special needs were, and a report was created. We never heard back on what the report ended up looking like. A year or so ago, maybe somebody reported that they're still trying to pursue some areas there. So I ain't got nothing against anybody taking their kids to the little NHL. But some reservation out there, was smart enough to come up with the idea, let's see if Jordan's principal will pay for hockey. Okay, so Akwesasne going to call on Jordan's principal on the radio to get these teams money from Jordan's principal. We have a lady over here with a child, $85,000 in deficit. Let's give this woman some help here. Let's give our special needs people some help along here.
Thank you. We're gonna go to Minnie and then we're moving to close.
You were talking about the power problem here, and then you talked about the air products company that's going on in Messina. First question I would ask is, do you have a copy of your status report on the land claims issue that you gave on January 30th? Do you have a copy of that for the people in the name of transparency? Because you're making a land claim which extinguishes all Mohawk rights on our lands. Do you have a copy of that here for the people?
No, we don't have it at this time, no.
And are you going to produce that to the people?
We are in the planning stages right now to be having a community meeting specifically on this, so we will be producing what we can at that meeting.
If you're in the planning stages, did you produce the status report on January 30th?
Did we or can? I didn't understand your question.
The judge had ordered that.
Did we produce one? Yes, we did. We filed.
Okay, so that copy of that report would be available at the office, maybe?
We'd have to double check that it is public.
Okay, so we can.
It's probably on the state's website that the documents are.
Are you here? That New York Power Authority is the one entity on that land claim that is demanding the extinguishment clause for the land claims of all Mohawks forever. And they've recently changed it to, instead of extinguishment, they changed it to dismissal with prejudice. So if you know what that means extinguishment. So they just changed it to fool the people and to make you think that they took it out, but they didn't take it out. Now, this is New York Power Authority that's pushing that. New York Power Authority is the one that runs the New York Power Authority on the Barnhart Island, the Robert Moses Power Dam, right? Now, you're talking about air products. Now, New York Power Authority is giving to the air products company 94 megawatts of power in support of their project. And that's a lot of money. They're giving 94
94 megawatts of power to that company, but yet in the land claims that you're all agreeing to, which you shouldn't, there is nine megawatts of power to the tri-council. I don't agree with that stuff, but I'm just telling you, that's what's in the books, that's what you're agreeing to. And if you agree to the January 30th status report, you agree to that they give 94 megawatts of power, that's okay. To Air Products Company, which is, investing $500 million into that company. A company that's dumping major chemicals into the Grass River, which directly flows into the St. Lawrence that comes right down. See, and that's something that you guys should talk about here. And all you people sitting at the desk up there, you should all be in researching all that stuff on what's going on. It shouldn't be just me and old lady telling you that, because that's what's going on, and that's detrimental to the people. That's what's killing all the people. Cancer is outrageous in this area, and people are dying. But anyway, that's what I wanted to bring to your attention, is what NIPA is doing, and you're agreeing. They're part of that land claims agreement. They're part of it, the state is, and so is NIPA, and so is St. Lawrence County, and so is Franklin County. They're all part of it. And in fact, the money that comes out of that land claims comes from NIPA. Oh, what, 70 million?
Yeah,
You know,
we're
that's something that you guys need to talk about. You need to produce it to the people. The people here have a right to know that.
yeah, no,
And everybody needs to, has a right to see those status reports. And those status reports, you talk about 2014, and you cancel now your referendum for the people to have a right to a voice, right to express their opinion. How do you do it? I asked the people, they said through a referendum. Well, you extinguished that in the MCA that you guys are talking about. Now, in 2014 to now 2024, it's totally different, because the last two status reports that you presented had major changes in it. And that's only a matter of a year. How many more changes were made since 2014? You need to think about that.
yeah, no, I could tell you that this file is very fluid. The committee that is helping lead it is meeting regularly with legal counsel. There's lots of factors in there. The status reports, we'll have to see if they can be made available. I mean, at the end of the day, there has to be a final agreement, what that looks like, an approval process. I mean, we have a framework, but we're not 100% on that yet. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts on this. There's a lot of moving parts. And so, the changes that have been made, we have had lots of discussions with our legal counsel on it. So we are looking at setting a community meeting to talk about this specifically more. We'll bring forward, documentation that we can.
And so after the January 30th, if you didn't produce all the reports that they asked for, especially the unresolved issues that were in that they wanted cleared up within January 30th, then now you're directed to go to federal court on February 26th. And will we see those reports before February 26th? The people want to have a right to know that.
We'll see what reports we can make available, and they may be already on the court's website, because these are status reports to the court, right? I mean, they're not internal to us, but they're updating the court as to how the negotiations are going, and there are outstanding issues. We'll see what we can make available.
There's a major outstanding issue in that the Mohawk Nation Council of Chiefs, which is on the Longhouse Park, one part of the Pride Council. On that part, they claimed that there was a census, that people had all agreed to that, and that was not true.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you're dealing with that. Are you?
That's not for us to decide. I mean, the Mohawk Council is only in control of what our position is and what direction we go. So there's three parties, right? The St. Mohawk Tribe, the Mohawk Nation, and the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne. It's our understanding for the proposed settlement to go forward all three parties have to sign. That includes the Mohawk Nation, the Southern Mohawk Tribe, and the Mohawk Council, right? And so if one party doesn't, then it's off the court we go, and, you know, that's a process in itself.
That's probably the best position to take, because when you tell the court something that's not true, that's a serious violation.
Well, I can assure you that we're not telling the court that's something that's not true in this case. I mean, you know, I mean, for lack of, you know, better, the tribe is the lead on this file, right? The land return is under the tribe's jurisdiction. The benefit that will derive from the proposed settlement will be access to the islands, which is still under, you know, American jurisdiction, will be the education benefits. I mean, our members will receive a benefit from, but the return of lands, the foregoing of taxes, the acknowledgement of the jurisdiction around those Indian lands, the tribe, that's all tribe, right? I mean, so the benefit, you know, from a cost numbers perspective, we're less on this, right? So, I mean, we have to be strategic on how we approach this as well.
People, is the marshlands in Bridger Falls?
Yeah, I mean, but the Mohawk Council is not interested in buying land on the American side. And we're not interested in controlling and having jurisdiction over land on the American side. So that's the thinking. This is some of the stuff we have to consider, right? So if it's marshlands, we're not buying marshland over there. We got enough in the Dundee area, right? That we have to worry about. So, I mean, this is a very delicate balancing act we're in this, right? I mean, we want the best for the community as a whole. If it means that there's less for the northern portion, but the benefit is greater for all, we're quite comfortable with that, right? So right now, I mean, it's very moving. There's a lot of moving parts of this.
Would be to have a presentation on the land.
Yeah.
And let everybody know where he's at and what they're doing.
Yeah, and that's what.
We know it's, you know, not clear at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very old file. There's a lot of parts in it. I mean, you know, one of the considerations, is it fair for the Mohawk Council to fail the referendum for the rest of the community that under the southern jurisdiction? Like, these are things we're thinking about. Doesn't mean that's where we're going. But, you know, I mean, if the tribe were to assert the same, you know, there's a lot of strategy and thinking going into this. We're not landed 100% on direction of this. And obviously having more meetings with the community is where we're moving. I have one more and then we're gonna close. I said one more and then we're gonna close.
Just like, you know, say it's long for council, say that we're gonna have a community meeting and I've been having information, been having it, we haven't heard anything about this now, we're gonna have it like, you know, when.
Yeah, we don't have a date yet. We're in planning stages right now. It could be a joint meeting as well with the tribe, perhaps with the Mohawk Nation. We're in the stages right now. Well, I mean, there's court dates that are set. I mean, there still needs to be a ratification of this, whether it be by council or some other process, still has to happen. I mean, we're. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Really good, yeah.
And I've been trying to want to get this man out, and he's trying to destroy you. He had a petition in that Bible there, I saw it clearly. For him to follow any of you chiefs, the way he was calling you out, I wouldn't dignify anything but an answer. All right, so the reason that election law fails is because everybody was confused in the community, when everybody wanted to focus on that one paragraph. Voting in your district against somebody else. That's all everybody wanted to know. He's making a mockery of the system here. Oh, are you all happy that one word got put in front of that? Mohawk law, election law, you know? It's very demeaning to how he's targeted. And I know what happened at the district meeting. You know, and that's sad to have to put our chiefs through this kind of bullshit he's putting them through. Let's fix that law once and for all, raise the one question to the one section. Let's work to fix that one section about the district vote somebody else. And then petitions. If he's got a petition in his bike, can he come back next month to present it? Oh wait, I feel sorry for you. So let me come back in April. Wait, no, let me come back May, right before the election. then I'll present my petition. There's no timeframe attached to that. You don't have to have a reason. It's embarrassing what's happening. It's very disheartening and embarrassing. Last month, in November, on this time meeting, he called you over there, all of you were failing. And this guy's making a mockery of how bad you failed because the election went up. Every one of you should have been advocating out there in your districts to tell people, if we're ever gonna fix this problem about taking us out that easy, by me not liking you because you farted next to me, and I can go get 200 people to sign it because I didn't like the way you smell, and you're gonna accept that, and no reason written in there that you farted next to me either, and I present that. It's a mockery, it's a shame, it's embarrassing, it's humiliating for some of you being up to it, and I feel for this. And you shouldn't have to stand up and be a man or a woman to explain something you might have did that may be personal to you, and near and dear to your heart, that none of us in this room have the right to judge anybody about your personal lives and what you go through when you're grieving either. So let's wake up there and get that section fixed.
Thank you. Thank you for that. All right, this is bringing us to the end of our meeting this evening on February 1st here at the Kawehno Recreation Center. I do have a resolution that I have to read for the record. That is to accept and approve the general meeting minutes dated November 2nd, 2023. If I could have a mover, please. Moved by Tim, second by Edwards. Discussion on the resolution. Question has been called on the resolution. All in favor? Any against? None against, it's carried. All right, thank you so much for joining us tonight. The next general meeting will take place on February 29th at Kentenhkó, and the district meetings will take place on February 12th in all of the districts. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. Could I have a motion to adjourn? Edward and Joanne. Thank you.